Hi everyone, my name's Declan McGlynn and I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by one of the most recognisable voices and faces in UK music industry. It's Mr. Zane Lowe.
Hey man.
How you doing?
Good.
Welcome to Point Blank.
Thanks man, I love it here.
Excellent, that's good to hear, that's a good start.
Thanks a lot, thanks for watching.
So I just want to ask you one thing, I mean, radio,
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously what you're best known for, I think. What is it that gets people coming back to radio, considering that we can stream whatever we want at any time, as many times as we want? What is it, in your opinion, that brings people back to it?
It's a good question. It's a complicated question. It's a question that the answer is evolving every day. It's different. It changes and transforms into a new answer or a slightly embellished answer every single day right now. Because we're living at a time when, you know, the way people discover music and what they expect from music, from quality right through to accessibility, is just changing all the time. But for me, just speaking personally, what I get a thrill out of from radio, what I look for in radio, and what I think people who like whatever radio is, whether it's sports, news, current events, new music, pop music, entertainment, talk back, whatever. I think it comes down to that human voice, that trusted guide, and I don't mean me or any particular person, I just mean the medium. The medium is a trusted guide. You know, Twitter is a place now where people get information through live feed, but once they get that information, more often than not, I think you'll find they go to a trusted guide. They go to TV or they go to radio to get either confirmation or to get further information. You know, and I think it's really important right now. I love the noise. I love what I hear constantly happening all the time. New music flying at me all the time. People constantly making music, making art all the time. You know, cultures clashing all the time is great. But I think for people who don't necessarily have the time to dive deep into that, then it's a great place to just narrow the field.
Yeah, and you mentioned about discovering so much stuff. I mean, you must get sent so much music. I mean, how do you decide when you hear something?
It's not as bad, you know, in a way as it used to be. Like back in the day, you would get sent demos, and now it's just links. And so, you know, I can be in a car. For instance, I was just on, you know, SoundCloud on the way here, and just rolling through things that my friends had sent me or people in the industry had said, hey, what do you think of this? Or this is our new signing, or we're interested in this. So I'm in a car. I've got no distractions. I'm not doing any other stuff. So that's the time. One of the times I'll put my headphones on and I'll just go.
And what does it take for a track to stand out, to jump out?
It's instinct and diligence. That's what a friend of mine said to me once, trust your instinct, then do the diligence, right? So listen to something that moves you and then investigate a bit further and see whether or not you think the building blocks are in play and the timing is right. One of the things I think that people forget when we hear something new, the question that we ask ourselves if we're really moved by it is like, is it the right time to play it? And we mean that really from an artistically sympathetic place. I mean sympathetic to the artist. Sometimes you can rush things out. You can go in your excitement, I'm going to play this, and the artist isn't ready. It might be a demo on SoundCloud. There's no new music to go. They're not ready to even venture into the idea of talking to management or publishers or whatever. They're just on an exploration, on a journey, on a vibe. So sometimes our enthusiasm and our passion can work, not necessarily in a bad way, but just a slightly misguided way.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to take into account. You know, it's about making sure the timing is right on all levels. But in terms of what I'm looking for the same thing that Rob's looking for, or you're looking for, something that moves me, something that speaks to me in here and in here and here and here, and all the things come together. And sometimes it's only a couple of those components, and it's enough to get you moving and wanting to learn more.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a total smash home run.
For sure, and you get a lot of exclusives and first plays. Is there one artist, one track that you remember thinking, oh, I'm so proud of launching this particular track?
Well, you know, the one song that springs to mind that I don't know if you described it as of course the show, we're proud to have any hand in any story that's been great for an artist or great for anybody. That's one of the perks of what we do. But the song that I remember just smacked me between the ears just immediately was Arctic Monkeys. You know, I bet you got on the dance floor. That was, you know, we were on a bus on a tour at the time, and it had been sent through by a trusted friend in the music industry who'd said, hey, listen, we just picked up this demo, what do you think? We played it, and all three of us, it was me, my producer Rob, and I think even Annie Mac was working on our show at the time. She was just getting into broadcasting, and we all looked at each other and we were just like, this is a total no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess I wanted to ask you as well, I mean, your love for hip-hop is very well documented, and you recently spoke to Rick Rubin and Nas and Kanye West. And was there one thing that stuck out when you were talking to those guys that you still think about on a daily basis? Maybe that's just like one piece of advice or one thing they said that stuck with you?
I think all of those artists kind of touched on the same point. If there's one continuous thread that runs through any interview with, well, hopefully any artist of any kind of real merit and authenticity, but certainly in the world of rap music, the greats all refer to to honesty and to the power of observation. I mean, you write about what you know. I mean, Nas talked about what was going on outside his window when he wrote Illmatic. Talked about, the early 90s and, coming out of the boom of the 80s and the problems with drugs and guns and crime and politics. And he just looked out the window and he said, the streets were just scattered with broken glass, literally just broken glass and shattered windows and shattered scenarios. And when you walked along the pavement, you could hear it squelching under your foot. And so it was visceral. He could feel it. So when he wrote it, you can feel it. I can feel it because he was feeling it. So he wrote it and he got it right. He documented it in the most amazing way, and that's why Illmatic is still a 5-mic classic. Same thing with Kanye. He talks about what he sees and whether that's incredibly internal. And, some critics will call it self-absorbed, fans will call it self-possessed. He's going to be honest every step of the way, and I totally respect that. Rick Rubin just looks for honesty in music in every artist he works with, and that's why a lot of his records, are very, I don't want to use the word simple because nothing about what Rick does is simplistic, but they're very pure recordings. He'll put a band in a room and he'll record it as it sounds. He'll try and get the essence of who those musicians are and what that song needs to say. And, Rick is not a producer in the sense that he goes there and stamps Rick Rubin all over it, He's just looking to facilitate the music. So I think honesty is a good thread.
Yeah, for sure. And you personally have been involved in production and songwriting. I mean, how does that differ from you? How do you approach that?
I like to ruin everyone's music with my own sound immediately. No, I'm joking. Not dissimilar. I just strive for that. In my own way. I'm a puppy in that world, really. I mean, I work on music as and when I can, and when the opportunity arises that I can be inspired by somebody. You're not going to turn down the opportunity to get in a room with Sam Smith. And when you get in there, because of the nature of who he is, the force of nature, and the incredible ability he has, you'll get something. And if you're lucky enough that it's something that he loves as much as I do, or Egg White or Jimmy Napes, then you might get on the record. And then if you get on the record, well, that's awesome. But the process, really, I do it for the process. I don't actually do it necessarily for the cut, because I've had loads of things that haven't made the cut. I do it because it gets me closer to music. And sometimes if you're just broadcasting and sharing music or playing it in a club or whatever, those are layers, those are levels. But what I was really missing was the feel.
Right, the creation process.
I was using these and I was using this and I was using these, but I wasn't really touching music in the sense that I was kind of helping to build it and create it and facilitate it with great artists in a collaborative way. And you learn something, amazing things every day you do that, whether the record gets cut or not. And then what I noticed was I would take that enthusiasm and that and what I'd learned and that inspiration, and all of a sudden my radio shows just were different.
How did they change when you broke music apart and looked at the
creation process? Because I would spend the day being involved in the making of it, and then I would take that whole, I'd just be so inspired, I'd go to radio and I would feel so connected to the music I was playing. Because I'm listening to it in a way where I'm understanding it in a different way.
Yeah, sure.
So I really, I would say the last 18 months when I've really started to do that again and collaborate with people and work with artists and produce or co-write or whatever they need, by the way, has really kind of, it's brought broadcasting to just another place for me in a good way.
Yeah, for sure. And how has that changed, and how has your radio DJing affected your actual DJing in clubs and on tour?
It's interesting, those two things are separate and the same. In the sense that, I play a broad selection of music on my radio show, and that's an honest representation of my taste. Any criticism that's leveled, and fair enough, but is leveled along the lines of, well, you just like everything. Well, the answer to that is simple. When you have free play and you can play what you want, I'm not going to deliberately choose something that's rubbish in order to put my own opinion across in a balanced way. That's more arrogant than saying you like something. Because what it's saying is my opinion, for good and for bad, is more important than the selection of records that we choose to share with people. Mm-hmm. For me, the process is to share great records. If I have 25, 30 records to play a night, I'm only going to pick records that I like or can find some merit in, even if it's not something I'm going to take home and listen to. So that's been the approach with radio, and it's the same approach when I go out and play records when I DJ. I'm looking for music that walks the line between what I think is going to move a crowd and what I really like. Some records move me more than others. Some records move, and those records might probably move the crowd more. Some records move, the ones that move me may not move the crowd as much as the other way around, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But in terms of the separation of the two, I mean, they're similar in terms of approach using a mic dynamically, but you know, I don't go on and I've never approached DJing like a Radio 1 DJ. I've never walked on there and gone, hey man, you might know me from Radio 1, I'm now going to play some records. That's just the PA thing and it's not for me. You know, as soon as I decided to take DJing seriously, I wanted to be taken seriously as a DJ.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of being taken seriously as a DJ, what would be your advice for someone who's currently producing or wants to be a DJ both in clubs or on radio? I mean, the radio format, as we spoke about earlier, has kind of changed. Well, if someone wanted to get into it, what's changed now and how would they do it?
I mean, all those are very specific kind of journeys, and doesn't mean you can't do them all, but the advice alters, you know, depending. I mean, I can only go on my experience, which is, you know, all I know is that I love music and I've always wanted to be around it in any way I can. And when that started out, it was like writing rhymes and being a kid and just writing reams and pages of raps, like the cat that sat on the mat in a funny hat, like just like, you know.
I like that.
I was like 24 when I wrote that. No, you know, just literally like a young kid, just trying to like get connected to it in some way. That led to making music, then that led to like working in a music TV channel because I didn't want to work in a bar anymore. So just get me around music, man. I'll play the music videos out overnight. I don't care. I'll hit the button. And then, yeah, put me on a mic in front of a camera. I'll talk about it. I don't care. You know, it's just like, get me around music. Let me interview musicians. Let me play the records out. Let me talk about it on the radio. Let me make it. Let me just do it. Let me do it. You got anything you want me to do? Let me do it. What's this? What does this do? I'll do it. What do you want me to do? You know? And
it's just like bursting to come out of you. You
just
can
like
feel it.
I'm sort of an AD DJ in that sense, you know, and I need to kind of constantly,
AD DJ.
you know, it's either AD DJ or OC DJ, depending on what time of the day it is. So, you know, for me, I just throw myself into it, and I think if you want to be a DJ and play out in clubs, then pick your favorite records and practice. Hustle a slot. Get out there. You see what records sound like in a big room. Feel like what it's like to mix in a big room. You know, bedroom and DJing is one side of things. You know, do your mix. Chuck it up on SoundCloud. Develop your style. Get your style right. If you want to make music, just write rubbish records. Write rubbish songs. Make good ones. Once you get one you're really proud of, put it up on SoundCloud. Use it for what it's worth. You might get 500 listens. You might get 500,000. You know, Lord started somewhere. There's an artist right now I just listened to today who has over 1 million SoundCloud listens, and I'd never heard of her until today. And that's not to say I should have, but it's just inspiring to think that I'm 1 million people behind on this artist. Because it's always going on, whether I'm listening to it or not. That's the beauty of music, is it's always going, all the time. There are people downstairs making it right now. I don't know what they're making, but maybe one day I might get a chance or the pleasure of listening to it, you know, or people down the road might listen to it on the radio. It's always happening. That's the inspiring thing. And that can be daunting and intimidating when you want yours to be heard. But it's the journey that matters sometimes, not the arrival. You know, it's the process. If you love the process, then the arrival is inevitable.
Exactly. Well, good way to end it. Thanks for coming in, man.
Nice to meet you, Declan.